Okay, I think we're ready. For those of you who haven't gone to lunch yet, thank you so much for coming and listening. I'm thanks. I'm Nina Carøe, and I'm the Chief Human Success Officer. Is it working? At ZENSAI. And I've been working in HR for many years. How many of you works in HR? Most of you. I think the last 5-7 years in HR has been quite tough. I actually attempted to leave HR for a while, and then I was pulled back into human success. And I'm super happy about that, because I honestly think that what we're witnessing right now could be the biggest moment for HR leaders than anything I've seen since I started working in HR 15 years ago. And so why is that? It's because AI is changing everything we know about work and how work is getting done. And who deals with work and how work is getting done, and the people who's doing it? Yes, it's HR. So we're the glue, and we're at the center stage of all of this. So that's one thing. I think people working in HR has realized this for a long time. We know the human side of the business is super, super important. But I don't think necessarily that the leadership teams I've been working with have realized that to the extent I wanted them to realize it. But so there's another thing that's new now, and I think there's an urgency out there in the world. There's execs looking at HR people leaders for solutions on how can we work with AI and get the full benefits out of that. And at the core of it, it's all about human capability, and that's what we're the expert in, and that is why this is our moment. Good. So today, what I'll go through is a bit more like in depth. Why is this our moment? What is it that's going on out there? And why is it actually not a threat for us, but a huge opportunity to elevate ourselves, be able to work more strategically than what we've been asked to do so far? I'll talk about how we can talk in a way so that we talk to impact instead of actions and nice to haves. And the final thing I'll talk to is a little bit about the one number we work with at ZENSAI that has changed how we do, how we talk about the people agenda in our leadership team. Great. So if we look at the reality out there, all over London, and I'm from Copenhagen, all over Copenhagen too, and I think anywhere else in the world right now where people are working, there are some really difficult questions being asked by the boards and the senior leadership team. They're thinking about how to be ready for what's next, and they don't even really know what's next yet. They are thinking about how to make sure that their workforce, that their people can execute on the strategy they have today. But not only that, they're thinking about if the strategy they have is even going to fly. They're thinking about the value of their people. AI and the efficiency that it could potentially bring will influence the value per person in a company. And that is what we will want to capture from a business perspective, and also something we will want to enable from an HR perspective, because that's all the way up there, having an impact on the company strategically. And so it's all about how do we make sure that our company, what we do, and our teams are ready to be competitive in the world of AI. And I think I want to talk to this curve too, because this is such, when you see this curve, are you going to say no to AI? I mean, when you look at this curve, there's a huge promise of productivity and efficiency, right? If you apply AI, this is you, this is your competitor. So what's not to like? Just do it. And that's just not that easy, right? Because a couple of things. So first thing is that we say that AI will make us more efficient, but there's a Deloitte report saying that we are not, and we're also talking about this everywhere, I think, that we're not seeing that productivity or efficiency gain in the companies yet. And Deloitte has an explanation for that. They say that's because we are not yet designing work and where humans and AI cooperate or work together. And because of that, because we apply AI as an ERP, like an ERP system project, which is difficult enough to do. I've been on the sidelines of that, to implement an ERP system. But this is much more than that. You can't just have IT implement AI. You have to think about the underlying process. You have to think about the people who's actually going to work with it, how that's going to happen, how that's going to be governed, and all of that. The next thing, which I think makes this graph a little bit questionable, is that MIT says that it's less than 44% of AI suggestions that is used directly. So you get a suggestion from AI, but then you use a lot of time correcting that or adjusting that so that you can actually use it in real life. And that speaks a little bit to the, I don't know if you have that same sense too, but I am sensing that my great colleagues, super skilled, they love what they do, they're at capacity, because it's like there's this hidden extra workload from AI that we're not realizing yet, meaning we're having a workforce that is at capacity, potentially burning out, and we are seeing dropping engagement scores year over year for the last 4 or 5 years. What we also see now beginning to happen is that manager engagement scores normally would be higher, like managers would be more engaged, but those scores are also dropping, meaning it's probably something that affects all of us that are affecting this change. So I think this is really interesting in terms of solving that bigger issue of declining engagement worldwide. So finally, obviously, AI is not just a tool, it's a mirror and a multiplier. If you have a company that's running well, you know who decides what, you know what processes needs to look like, all of that, then you can multiply and you can become better. But if you have flaws in your operating model and you apply AI on top of it, then that'll just make those issues much bigger and much more visible. So when we go and talk to our customers, and I talk to my HR colleagues about what should be on top of mind and what is on top of mind for them, it's these 5 things. And if you try and rate yourself from a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is not at all, and 5 is very much indeed, AI tool is actually being used and not just rolled out. Managers coach, they don't just escalate. People know their work moves. People know how their work moves the numbers for the company. Burnout shows up before people leave. AI investment is increasing revenue per person. When I speak to our customer and to my HR colleagues, I think we're all around a place like 2, 3 or something like this. And it's super important, and it's very people related, of course, to be able as a company to reply 4 or 5 to this if you want to set yourself apart from the AI first company, the companies that's actually able to embrace AI to the fullest extent and get the most out of it. And so that's just this one that I just wanted to bring up also, that I think is really key and is something that definitely falls on us to be aware of. When you asked me to start using AI for everything I know and everything I learned over the last 15, 20 years, and just copy that into AI, I get a little bit nervous, and I think we all do. I know I'm pretty fast at learning, but I have days where I'm afraid of what will happen to my role, and if I feel like that, I know for sure that my teams feel like that. And that will ruin the possibility of good AI adoption. It will take the speed out of that adoption process. So there's a huge HR task and a huge manager task in making sure that we have a work environment where it's safe to work with AI where people see this as their development opportunity. Because you could say, if I'm able to automate everything I do with AI, I'm sure there's another company who will want me to go and do that there for them afterwards. So it's just not going to be another thing that I'll be doing with AI. But for people to learn, we need to make sure that they feel that there's trust and that they won't be let go as soon as we can just replace them with robots. And this one is about how you interact when you're in front of AI, and that's both good AI and bad AI. If you think about last time you kind of became aware that you were talking to an AI bot, like with a brand you were speaking to or somewhere else, when you realize that you're speaking to AI, what happens? Like, you stop interacting in the same way. You stop expecting decisions to be made. You stop, like, you are aware it's a machine, so like you don't interact the same way. And that is also a thing internally in organizations that we need to be aware of. And we also need to be aware of, if we don't keep accountability and decision making with humans, then it's going to be very difficult for companies to understand, to rate people, to understand performance and these things, and things can potentially fall apart here. So bad AI, that's of course the worst case, but even good AI, we need to make sure that we keep that accountability and decision making in the hands of humans. So that was all about the situation out there from a people perspective, org perspective. If we then look at the tendency that we see right now, there are several big companies that are saying we're cutting people because we have AI. And that's like that's like providing surgery with a lawn mower, right? I mean, of course, if you're a huge company, you might be able to do that. But for all of us who's in mid-sized companies, we all know how big of a negative effect that's going to have. So the question is not, how many roles can I replace with AI? The question is, how can you take the extra hours that you get out of applying AI, take those hours and invest that into people growth, so that employees can use that to become more valuable, because they learn, so they become more valuable in their own career, but also for the company, because now they can focus on more revenue stuff, or they can improve the product better, and they can finally sort out these things, the hard things that they never got to do before because of daily operations. And then the thing about language, I think one of the things I took away from my bachelor's degree, where I studied philosophy, I didn't take a lot of things away from that because it was super theoretical, and I'm not very theoretical as a person. But what I took away is that language matters. How you speak matters, and what you say creates reality. And systems are not going to react to stuff that they cannot recognize. You have to speak to systems, and systems can be individuals, teams, organizations, in a way where they can actually understand what you're saying. And I've been in many systems or teams, leadership teams, where what they understand is EBITDA, margin, revenue. That's what they understand. That's what they're measured on. That's ultimately how they keep the business running, so that everyone can get their salary next month and the next month and the next month, and create more jobs and all of that. And so what I learned is to speak to HR, people and culture, people side of the business, as being not a people initiative, but an EBITDA strategy, really, right? So engagement isn't a score. It's attrition risk, and it's revenue exposure if you lose the right salespeople. For instance, capability isn't just a nice thing to have. It is revenue per employee and time to value. Learning isn't just a catalog, a course catalog. It's AI adoption. We need our whole workforce to be able to work with AI really, really fast. And I think there's no leader right now who will tell me that's not important. everyone is telling me that's important, how can I do it? So if you want to be interesting, that's how you should speak to it as an HR leader. Burnout signals are not just wellness talks, let's have more benefits. It's missed targets next quarter if you don't have people who is working well, who's feeling energized, who love what they do. So what we do with our customers right now is we talk about this journey, and this journey applies to both department level, but also overall organizational level. I'll speak from the HR department perspective right now, but it could apply to marketing, CS, whatever. So basically we talk about these different steps, and the important thing to know is that AI isn't going to take you to the next step. It will enhance the step you're already at. And so the first step is protect. So we follow the rules and keep the lights on. That's, HR operations, we have an HRS, and we are compliant, so we're not breaking the law. Great. We can use AI to enhance that, but it won't get us to the next step. The next step is operate, where we have systems, but they serve process. It was supposed to say process and not purpose here. Process and not people. So we build process for the sake of process. It's like inventing work just because it's nice to have something to do. And I think we've all been, I've been faulty of that in my time in HR for sure. And obviously that's not going to be something that really moves the needle with anyone. Invest. We measure sentiment and build skills, but we cannot yet prove impact. So we start to talk about engagement. We have these indications of how engaged are people. We know that they are going to take some courses, but we don't know the value we're getting out of it. So that's the investment stage. We start to invest in our people. The next stage is the perform stage, and this is where the CFO and the execs starts to listen, because this is where you're able to connect learning, performance, and engagement to the outcomes of the company. And the final step is the transformational step, where we have people, AI, and strategy moving as one system. And that is what we call the human success operating model. I did check my slides, but and so if we touch a bit more on that triangle here, we talk about learning, engagement, and performance, and it is not self-perceived learning, performance, and engagement. This is looking at to what extent does learning actually happening in the org right now. Are people actually ready to do the things they're required to do tomorrow? My colleague spoke down here on the stage earlier on about how we all need to learn at least 10 new skills every day. And we're not going to learn that from a course that we take. We learn them in the work, during the work. And we need to capture that, because we need to be able to ensure that our people are able to work in tomorrow's market that will be very different than today. We know that for sure. Engagement, again, not self-perceived, but based on interactions between managers and employees. So it's not sentiment, it is what is actually going on. And manager and employee conversations, most important things for engagement. We know that. I'm much more happy and content when I have just had a check-in with my manager, because then I know what he's thinking, I don't get nervous, he tells me I'm good, and I'm really happy when I go home from work. I do my best work, I'm super excited. But it cannot only be a self-assessment, we need something that shows us that this is actually going on, and that is what we cater for in our platform. But that is also something that AI enables us to do much more in the coming years. Finally, learning and engagement is fine, but it doesn't matter if we do not connect it to where the company is going. And with AI, the complexity, the speed of change, the goalpost is changing all the time. So you do need, as a company, a system, an intelligent system that can, move when the goalpost moves. The organization follows, and you understand that you're going, and you're sure that you're not continuing in one direction when you're supposed to take a turn over here. Really, really helpful, again, based on what actually happens and not just, I feel like it's all going well. Because that's just perception, or could be. And so all of this, we put that into one score, which we call the human success score. So what we've done at ZENSAI is we talk about a trifecta, a new leadership trifecta, which is the Chief Human Success Officer, the one who's responsible for building how AI and people work together. The CTO or the CIO, who's the technical side of the AI world. Close collaboration is, there's no way around it. It can't be done by IT alone, it can't be done by me alone. I'm not that technical. And then the CFO, who has the financial view. There's something around how do we invest in the coming years? Where is our opportunity? How do we change up? How does our cost base gonna look? All of these things. These three people has to lead AI transformation from the top, and we call that the human success trifecta. And I think as an HR person in a company that doesn't have that kind of overall trifecta set up, it's going to be very hard to be able to enable that kind of change that AI will require. But so when you get started, you set up the trifecta, what you need to do is obviously map the workflows. Don't apply AI to workflows that isn't good or clear. Then clarify who decides. Again, it's about making sure that we understand who makes the decision in the age of AI. Where do we check in with AI so that something doesn't go wrong? Define what stays human. Because it is what's going to set your company apart. If you build something with AI today, I can copy it tomorrow in Lovable or whatever. And then, only then, when you've done that, you automate. So, 3 takeaways. HR is the new operating model in the age of AI. You are so key and in the center of this situation that we're all in. Speak impact and not influence, so people as an EBITDA strategy, not as nice people initiatives. And if you do something after today, go to your CFO and talk with him about or her about a people issue that could be a financial risk to your company. Go to your CTO, talk about how lack of trust in a department is stalling AI adoption. Speak to the impact of the business and focus on these things right now instead of engagement surveys, benefits programs, and so on and so forth. And we've written a book about it, me and Robin, woohoo! And it's coming out on May 4th. And it's all about the human success operating model for the future. So go to our booth. It's right down here, ZENSAI up there, and we can talk more about it. So this is our moment, and I'm super excited to be back in HR, and let's go. Thank you.